Yes.
Vice Chair Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we can go into the public hearing.
So this is going to be a really short meeting today, but there's some stuff that we were asked to do by council and just needed to follow up on some other items. So the first item, we were asked to research a part of our municipal code by the city council. Like most cities, we do have an adult business ordinance that heavily restricts if somebody wants to do a adult type business, but it's a little outdated. Some of this case law goes all the way back to the 70s. So there are some language in there that can be considered offensive to certain people. So the first item before you is a very simple removal of 2 or 3 words from the municipal code. So that's all it. So there's really no presentation. It's just a request to remove those words from the municipal code and kick this up to council that we can get this done by probably September 16th at the council meeting. And if you want, you can just read the motion directly from the agenda.
Right, so it reads, a minor amendment to the Marina Municipal Code, amend male and female impersonators. The Planning Commission to consider adopting Resolution 2025-10, recommending that the City Council adopt the proposed amendment to Section 17.52.020 of the Marina Municipal Code, MMC, removing the phrase male and female impersonators from the definition of adult cabaret, thereby removing this form of personal and cultural expression from unregulated? What does
From
that say?
uses regulated by
It's-
use though.
Oh, that's a new word for me. Can we, what is uses regulated? I'm sorry,
Just land uses like
line use?
commercial or residential uses, just, yeah,
Thank you.
just uses.
Uses regulated by the adult businesses and massage therapist section of the MMC. The proposed ordinance is exempt from environmental review pursuant to action and 1506 pursuant to section and 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines. Project planner Allison Hunter, planning services manager. And then there are documents.
Yes, and just because you don't do this a lot.
I don't.
Vice Chair, the attorney will get on me for, I guess technically we're supposed to open up for public comment. There's nobody online. There's nobody in the audience, but you're supposed to, ask for if there's public comment.
Is there any public comment?
We have one member of the public on the Zoom call, so if presumably she wants to, so you have to ask the question.
No?
Nope,
about
I don't
it?
see any.
Is there any discussion from the dais? No questions? All right. So can I get a motion to approve the resolution as proposed?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Should we reread it?
Oh, she just read it.
Pardon me?
She just read it.
Okay. I make the motion as Vice Chair has read.
All right,
Thank you. And your second, Stan?
And I second that.
so Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And we're moving into our informational items. First one is the Monterey Salinas Transit Mobility Hub site. And, oh yeah, no, Sue.
Good evening. My name is Brian Kim. I'm the assistant planner. And today I'll be presenting about the Monterey Salinas Transit Mobility Hub as an informational item. Next slide, please. So MST will be building a mobility hub on the 5th Street. This is a part of the approved Surf Bus Rapid Transit program. a project that was previously approved by the PC and City Council in May and June of 2024. This structure will be 960 square feet. I accidentally put the wrong number in the packet, but it's actually 960 square feet, and it will be 13 feet tall. The structure will be used for bike storage and repair for MST customers and other people. There is no change in the tree removal, landscaping, lighting, or any other aspects of the larger project that was previously approved by Planning Commission and City Council. And the reason that the design review for the mobility hub was deferred was as it was not thought to be required at the time of the larger project review. And the anticipated construction of the mobility hub will be from March to October 2026. Next slide, please. So here's a map of the project location. Next slide, please. And here's the site plan. It's going to be the top yellow figure.
Could you orient me to this map? I'm not sure. Are we looking north, south, east, west? What are we looking?
This should be correct. The way
It should be what?
it should be correct, like as it was in the previous map. So the top should be facing north.
Okay, so it's facing.
There it is. That's facing north. Okay.
Got it.
And next slide, please. And here's a rendering and the materials that will be used. So if you see in the picture, this will be what the structure looks like. So a very short presentation, just an informational item on the mobility hub. Thank you.
Yeah, and the genesis of this is that the Planning Commission and Council, as Brian mentioned, already approved the MST project, and there was a very small rendering on the plans that you guys looked at over a year and a half ago, but we didn't have detailed drawings like we have now. So technically, the commission and council have already approved this, but we just thought out of transparency purposes, we should bring this back so the commission knows that we're doing everything above board. And so that's really why we're bringing it. It's more of an informational item. So.
Thank you for that, Brian. I appreciate. And we're going to go right into the next item, innovative housing models in
Yes.
support of housing element program.
Yeah. So as the commission knows, we've been working really hard we got our 5th and 6th cycle housing elements certified. We've been plowing away at all of the different programs. I've been a little bit delayed because I've been working on other stuff this year. But we're trying to get back on track with some of the programs we're supposed to implement for this year. One of the programs in our housing element is we were asked by the commission and council, if you recall, during housing element certification is Guido and the staff, what can you do to recommend types of housing that are more cost effective, that get housing in the ground quicker, effectively, cheaper, more faster. So Bryce from Rincon is going to be sharing some of the work that he's been doing, and that eventually we'll bring this back for adoption. And so that's basically the background. So I'm going to pass this off to Bryce and pull up his PowerPoint.
Thanks so much, Guido. Can everyone see the shared screen? That's not the right one.
There you go. There.
All right, one more try.
Bryce. Allow.
Yep. Oh. Yeah. There we go. How's that?
There we go. Perfect.
Great. Okay. Good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Bryce Haney with Rincon Consultants, and I'm here tonight to present the work that we've done so far to implement 2 housing element programs, but especially the research that we've gathered for the Economic Goal Housing Toolkit. So this is work that we've done as part of the city's broader housing element implementation efforts that's focused on making housing more affordable, more efficient to build, and more feasible in Marina. So first up, I'm going to provide, I'm going to walk you through kind of the main pieces of these implementation efforts. I'll give a brief overview of the housing element implementation efforts that Rincon was tasked with by the city. Then I'll provide a quick update on part of that effort, the faith-based housing overlay. And then for the rest of the presentation, I'll present the findings of the research that we've done for the economical housing toolkit. So that's going to include a set of innovative construction techniques that are gaining traction in California, some more cutting edge construction methods that we see, a little bit further out on the horizon. And then I'll discuss kind of the role that local jurisdictions like Marina can play in supporting these new techniques. So first off, this project is funded through HCD's REAP 2.0 grant, which provides resources to cities to implement housing element programs. So Rincon was tasked with helping the city implement two of these programs. The first one being Program 1.4, which directs the city to encourage the development of housing on the properties of faith-based and other institutions like schools and community organizations. And Program 2.3, which directs the city to explore and present information on innovative housing types and construction techniques that have the potential to reduce costs and speed up housing delivery. So we're calling that the economical housing toolkit. So the final product of this toolkit will be an educational toolkit intended to inform city staff and decision makers on new construction techniques that may come up as development projects come into the community development department. And it'll be kind of a quick reference guide with links to further resources and case study projects and that kind of thing. So these two programs are an important part of the city's eligibility for the state's pro-housing designation, which gives the city a kind of an edge when applying for larger state grants for housing-focused community benefit projects, infrastructure projects, public transit improvements, and that kind of thing. So that's a general overview of the broader project, and now we can get into some of the details of each of these implementation efforts. So first, a quick update on the faith-based housing overlay. As you know, the state recently adopted SB 4 and AB 1851, which allows qualifying affordable housing projects by right on the properties of religious and higher educational institutions. The city has an opportunity to kind of go further than SB 4 by creating an overlay zone that accomplishes the intent of that legislation, but it utilizes some of the best practices that we've determined have the greatest chance to promote housing production on these types of sites. So some of those best practices include applying the overlay to other institutional uses, such as social clubs and school district-owned properties, increasing height and density allowances beyond those of SB 4, and then developing standards for institutional property owners to use prefabricated units or other innovative construction methods to rapidly increase housing supply. So right now we're drafting a version of this faith-based housing overlay that incorporates these best practices, and we're looking to present that draft to city staff later this fall. So shifting gears now to the economical housing toolkit. As everyone knows, Marina, like other California cities, faces high housing costs. And part of the solution to that issue lies in innovations in the construction industry, which have enabled developers to build housing faster, with lower costs and with less waste. So some of the methods that are commonly used today, kind of throughout the state, are these flat packed cabins that are often used for transitional and interim housing to combat homelessness, prefabricated and modular single units that are used for ADUs and some custom single family homes, and modular construction that is often used in larger scale multifamily projects. So looking ahead at some of the other innovations that are a little bit further down the timeline, we're seeing regulatory advancements that may allow single stair construction in California in the near future. Mass timber is a technology that's gaining traction for larger multifamily projects, and even pilot programs that use 3D printing to rapidly build single family units. So we'll get into all of these construction methods and discuss some of their advantages, starting with flat packed cabins. So these are essentially prefabricated micro units, anywhere from about 64 square feet for an 8x8 cabin all the way up to 200 square feet. So they'll usually have a steel frame with an insulated composite plastic wall. And some units can be configured with bathrooms, and all will typically be fitted with heating, air conditioning, and electricity. So climate control is available. There's multiple manufacturers for these kinds of units. Two of the biggest ones are being Pallet Shelter and Boss Cubes, both of which have supplied projects throughout California. And these are the lowest cost solutions that we'll cover today. So the units themselves start as low as $8,000 per unit. And tiny home communities that utilize these units, that I'm sure you've probably seen, will typically cost between $35,000 to $50,000 per unit to design and build. So that's everything from site preparation to shared shower and bathroom facilities, and all of the things that turn a group of these units into a little community. So some of the advantages is that these units are rapidly deployable for disaster relief and transitional housing. The units are relatively small and lightweight structures that allow really flexible arrangements at high densities on small sites. And they offer a more secure, longer-term individual living space in comparison with traditional kind of transitional shelter models. So like I said, these are typically used in tiny home village transitional shelters, like the Dignity Moves tiny home village in Santa Barbara, which is shown here, and the Serenity Homes in Baldwin Park. So these communities are usually will feature on-site security, shared laundry, bathroom, and shower facilities, and they'll offer supportive social services on-site, which are typically operated by local nonprofits. So next, we'll scale up slightly and talk about more permanent prefabricated single units. These come in two main forms: panelized units, where flat sections of the structures are built in a factory and then shipped to the project site to be assembled at the project site. And then modular units, where the entire unit is built in a factory and delivered to the project site nearly complete. So the primary advantage of this type of construction is speed. While the unit is being built offsite in the factory, site preparation can take place, and later the finished units can be moved directly onto the site and set up, and you're ready to occupy them, in as little as a week or so. So this ends up cutting months off of the total construction time. The costs for these types of units range very widely, from about $60,000 to $350,000 per unit, depending on the size, the different finishes and configurations. That's just the cost for the unit itself. Important site prep work like foundations and utility connections are an additional cost that, again, varies widely depending on the site. So this is a good time to discuss the differences between modular housing and more traditional manufactured homes. So traditional manufactured homes, or mobile homes, are built to federal building standards established by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They have to include a permanent steel chassis that allows them to be transported easily. And these uniform national standards override local building codes. So on the other hand, modular units are placed on permanent foundations and not intended to be moved. Modular construction is subject to local building codes, including Title 24 regulations for green building, and they're regulated by California's HCD under their factory-built housing program. Manufactured units are legally considered personal property, like a car or RV, whereas modular units are considered real property, like any other site-built home. Prefabricated modular units offer several advantages to site-built construction. Like I said, they can be installed on site much faster than traditional structures can be built. Under the HCD factory built housing program, modular units are inspected at the factory, which allows local building officials to kind of limit their review to the site preparation and the final installation of the unit instead of the inspection of the unit itself. Another advantage for property owners that want to use these manufactured units or modular units is that many manufacturers offer in-house kind of turnkey services, which cover the design, permitting, and installation of the unit, which offers the property owner sort of a one-stop shop instead of working with a bunch of different contractors and professionals. Lastly, these units are really flexible. They can be used as a simple, a single backyard ADU, or grouped into pocket neighborhoods of smaller single-family homes. Prefab ADUs, as most people know, it's already really common in California. And then projects like the Valley View Senior Apartments in American Canyon show that they kind of scale up into these high-quality multifamily developments. Next up, we jump up into the housing scale once again to modular construction for multifamily projects. So with this method, entire units are built and finished off-site and then stacked at the project site to form the building. So after they're stacked, the exterior building treatments are added to finish and weatherproof the building. As with other prefabricated construction methods, site preparation like utility connections and foundations can be laid while the individual apartment units are built off-site, and then of course stacked back on-site once they're ready. Costs for these types of buildings can be 10 to 20% lower than traditional builds. But again, the real benefit to developers is time and predictability. Builders benefit from predictable schedules, reduced risk, and timelines that can be up to 40% faster than site-built construction. Additionally, because of more precise factory construction, there's typically less wasted material from traditional site-built methods. There's multiple manufacturers of these, kind of modular apartment units throughout the Western U.S. that serve builders in California. Two of the largest are Guerdon and Autovol, and then a local company, Factory OS, is based in Vallejo, California. So all of these companies have proven track records for delivering multifamily housing projects, including several local examples that used modular construction. This is Parkside Manor, which was built by Guerdon, I believe. And there's several others in Salinas and San Jose. So these projects demonstrate the value of modular construction as kind of a tool in the toolbox for affordable housing developers. It's another tool that they can use to possibly make a project pencil where it might not otherwise. And then also, of course, get housing built as fast as possible. So next, I'll cover a few of the latest construction methods that are gaining traction in California, but maybe a little further off for Marina. So one of the most exciting changes on the horizon is reform around single stair construction. Currently, state building code requires 2 stairwells in buildings, in any building over 3 stories. This is generally intended to increase safety in the event of a fire, but numerous recent studies of buildings in New York and Europe have shown that single stair buildings are just as safe as 2-stair buildings, as long as certain safety measures are in place. So fireproof doors, pressurized stairwells, and sprinkler systems throughout the building. But reform is coming to California. AB 835 directed the state to create building standards that allow single stair mid-rise apartment buildings by 2028. So why does it matter? Single stair buildings are often less costly to build, and the floor area freed up by eliminating that stairwell and the long hallways between them enables larger kind of family-friendly units with more natural light and ventilation. So this reform could be a kind of a game changer for missing middle housing types, small apartment buildings on smaller lots where other building types are infeasible. So this is kind of a diagram comparing the differences between a single and a double stair building. On the left, there's a double stair building, and you can kind of see that the extra space taken up by the stairwell and eliminating the extra space taken up by the stairwell and all of those hallways can significantly shrink the footprint of the building. And then again, it enables that light and ventilation to come into the building come into each unit on multiple sides of the building. Another emerging technology is mass timber construction. So mass timber or cross-laminated timber or CLT involves the use of engineered wood panels that can replace steel and concrete in mid to high-rise buildings. So extremely strong building materials out of wood instead of these more intensive, expensive steel and concrete. So mass timber buildings can be built quickly, taking advantage of that off-site manufacturing building components that we've been talking about. And they're really environmentally friendly with wood harvested from sustainably managed forests that sequester atmospheric carbon. So mass timber is already appearing in buildings around California with projects like the Kind apartments in Sacramento and the super bungalows in Los Angeles, just shown here. And mass timber construction can be cost competitive depending on the type of project, but typically it's kind of reserved for larger apartment buildings at this point. And not many builders have used CLT in smaller projects in California yet. And finally, 3D printed housing. This method involves large robotic printers that actually extrude concrete in a mixture to form the interior and exterior walls of the structure. So companies like Icon, who manufacture these printers, are working with home builders like Lennar to print the vertical walls of single-family homes like in a matter of days. So proponents estimate that 3D printing could reduce hard costs by up to 40% by eliminating waste and introducing automation into the construction process. So in the California Building Code, residential 3D printing is allowed in California on a case-by-case basis via the California Residential Code Alternatives Methods provisions. But the buildings require a more thorough review by an engineer to ensure that the design and the materials can withstand earthquakes and other structural loads. So California's first 3D printed home was built in Redding in 2003. And while still it's in the early phases, there's a lot of talk in the construction industry for this technology to develop into something that really saves a lot of time and construction cost. So what role does a jurisdiction like Marina have in kind of allowing these construction methods to take place? Well, the jurisdiction can partner with local or with modular manufacturers and architects to pre-certified popular modular ADUs or multifamily designs that can simplify local permitting. The city can train staff, building staff on factory-built construction, plan approval, and module installation to reduce delays and cost uncertainty. And it can codify the acceptance of prefabricated products as equivalent to conventional materials, provided that they meet performance standards. They can also define cottage clusters or pocket neighborhoods. These are in the zoning code. These are kind of small lot subdivisions of detached homes, which usually are arranged around like a common courtyard or walking path. And that can support the use of smaller modular units in this type of development. And then lastly, it can support and promote the use of SB 9 and SB 684 to support small lot subdivision and cottage cluster development, which oftentimes these modular units are used in. So to wrap up, Marina has a unique opportunity to take the lead in housing innovation. We can pair zoning reforms like the faith-based housing overlay with construction innovations in this toolkit and hopefully we can make real progress towards housing affordability and availability. So thanks for your time, and I'd be happy to do my best to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Bryce. That was very informative. Does anyone have questions for Bryce? I have a few, but I'm saving them. Any questions, thoughts? There's got to be something.
I forgot.
I can ask. All right, ready to start with Commissioner Barron? Move to, I'm just trying to remember your last name.
In one of the slides, you showed that certain units can cost from 60,000 to 350,000. I don't see how 150,000 can be considered for affordable housing.
Huh?
So what exactly does it mean that some units can cost 350,000 to manufacture, if that's what I understood correctly? Thank you.
Like, I think the range was 60 to 350. Is that correct, Bryce?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
If you want to pull up,
oftentimes-
if you want to pull up that slide, Bryce, just to show the range.
Sure. Actually, I just lost it, so it might take me a second to pull it back up. But I can speak to that. A lot of times affordable housing in California can cost, upwards of, especially in the Bay Area, can cost upwards of $500,000 per unit. So looking at something that's $350,000 is not too far off of that kind of that range. Housing just generally is very expensive. And then also kind of these units, these pre-manufactured units that are costing $350,000 per unit. These are kind of higher end units that someone would install in their backyard to rent out as an ADU or for their for their aging parent or something like that. So 350,000 is sort of the higher end for these types of units, but costs can be much lower, of course.
Well, really, this is an opportunity for the commission to ask questions, but also to provide if there's some other innovative housing solutions we haven't thought of. And so, yeah, Commissioner Jacobson looks, I guess.
We're gonna go Commissioner St. John and then Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Bryce, first, thank you for a very informative presentation, and I look forward to seeing more. And actually, what is your schedule for completing the housing study and, say, issuing it to the Planning Commission?
So our primary focus right now is the faith-based housing overlay because of the sort of code implications of that type of project. But we're looking to have it this fall, before the end of the year, the final document.
And it piecemeal, like faith-based package first, and then the rest of it are hold off until.
Yeah, I don't know if we've thought that one through, if there's a request to do them together or separate, whatever, kind of depends on our workload and whatnot. But yeah, we can certainly bring it back. So.
Yeah, I think I would personally prefer it as step by step and
Okay.
instead of waiting for the whole package.
Sounds good.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, ma'am. I just have two questions. As we brought up in earlier conversations about the manufactured and the modular homes, one of the objections that was raised was that most of these units are manufactured outside of the state and that the transportation costs were very high. Are your estimates, do they include those transportation costs?
Yeah, so the estimates I shared, the kind of the direct kind of 60K to 350K don't include the transportation costs, but yeah, absolutely, that's a major factor. It typically is site specific and manufacturer specific. The manufacturers, some manufacturers do have factories here in the state of California, so it can be a little bit less, but of course it's gonna depend on every project.
Okay, so these figures could be raised. I don't know if it's significantly or not, but I know the transportation issue is there. So
Yeah,
please keep that in mind when you are finishing this up, and make sure that the costs are all inclusive so it can be better evaluated. The other thing is that I had an experience a couple of years ago of going to a hotel in Paso Robles, and the entire hotel, which had about 25, 30 rooms, was entirely constructed from repurposed containers, like the containers that go on container ships.
Ah.
Is that one of the things that has been looked at or should be looked at? Because they're stackable, they're hard as nails, and it was quite an experience. I felt very safe.
yeah, absolutely. In the research for this project, the shipping container homes and units have come up, and so yeah, we can definitely include them in the discussion as well.
That would be great. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Lana, Commissioner. Lana.
I have two questions. For faith-based housing, who are the beneficiaries and who decides who can benefit?
Sorry, I think I missed the last part of that question. Who are the beneficiaries and?
Who decides that who can be a beneficiary?
For occupying the units that would be built on a religious institution property, or?
Yeah, I'm talking about that, faith-based.
I think there's Guido can correct me if I'm wrong, but the for affordable housing that uses state or federal funding, like the LIHTC tax credit program or that kind of thing, the occupancy of those units is regulated, so it's somewhat open or for folks that are specifically vulnerable. But for other types of housing, I know there's a lot of case studies around faith-based communities that have built housing on their properties specifically for their staff or for their members of their congregation. So if they are not using some of these state funding programs and federal funding programs, yeah, they can build units for who they choose.
Okay. And the second question is that for these new suggested models that we heard today, are the insurance and the financial institutions on board with these models?
Yeah, so it's financing has been an issue, in years past, but with the kind of broader adoption and the broader the formalization of the manufacturing of these modular units, financing is often available through the manufacturer of the modular unit, and then there's more acceptance of modular type construction for financing of a mortgage for a new home or an ADU for that type of thing. So I think there's still some reluctance on the part of some banks to finance these types of products, but there's a lot of improvement in the last even 5 years.
And the insurance companies are totally on board.
As far as I know, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, it looks like we're right back to Commissioner St. John.
You know, my last bite of the apple today. I think I would direct this one to Guido. Is there any thought for this type of housing supplied by the city of Marina for any unhoused?
That's definitely a possibility. So for the Cypress Knolls development, we had a big joint meeting with the council a couple years ago, and it's been a little while now. One of the charges from the city council was when we eventually do a housing project out at the Cypress Knolls site to make it as cost effective as possible. So some of these ideas that were floating around potentially could end up in the Cypress Knolls development. So.
Well, I wanted to change the focus a little bit. The population of unhoused people that are on the street
Right.
and lack a proper place to live. I think Marina doesn't have a great problem, you know, a huge problem, maybe because it's a little chilly here. But I don't think we are immune from a housing shortage for unhoused people. I'm not so sure that we have very many units at all. You could probably share a
Right.
little bit of that. What
Yeah.
kind of facilities do we have for unhoused?
I mean, we do have quite a bit of transitional housing, and actually, it's in the housing element, all the list of different affordable housing sites we have in the city. But to your point, this is a model that can be used to help support the unhoused folks. About 2 miles from my house in San Jose, John Sobrato is a major developer in San Jose. He's partnering with the city of San Jose. They're building 110 of these modular units about 2 miles from my house, and they're all stacked up. And I run by it once or twice a week, and you see them being stacked up, and then you see the material being added to the buildings, and it's gone up pretty quickly. So yeah, and that project is specifically to support transitional and support unhoused people. So it's definitely being used at least up in the Bay Area. So
You know, what's kind of interesting and continue the discussion is, so as you said, Marina may not have as large of a population of homeless as does the city of Seaside or the city of Monterey. This is going to sound, I don't want it to sound callous, but if we overbuild our homeless accommodations, they will come.
Yeah, but we also should be in a position, at least a plan to solve the problem.
Yes,
Should the problem expand or
Yes.
exponentially grow on us.
yes,
It's better than commandeering the gymnasium in the school or whatever.
agreed. Yeah.
right, right,
All right. So let's just add that one to the,
absolutely.
All right. Anybody else want to bite? Yes, Commissioner King.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing the information. Very informative. Every state have a different building code, correct? So when you look at the manufacturers of this prefab housing from out of state, I'm not sure whether their constructions and all the electrical and plumbing complying with the California code. So shouldn't we give preference to companies, the manufacturing company who are in California, instead of looking at others outside the state? And what do you think?
Sure. Typically as far as, compliance with building codes, goes, the manufacturers of these types of units, will take specs from all over the country and will build units based on the project. So if the project is going, an affordable housing building in San Jose, the manufacturer, which might be in Idaho, will build the units to the code that applies in San Jose. Also, California's building code is based mostly on the international building code, which is also used in other states. So there's not that much difference between building codes in California versus building codes, throughout the West. California does have more extensive seismic requirements, but again, manufacturers of these units are familiar with those seismic requirements, and they will, build the units to meet those requirements.
Well, maybe the fixtures like the shower head and the toilet, the water flow. I think in California we are more strict on the water flow rate than other state. Our water flow rate is lower than other state. So that's why sometimes you cannot get things from our state. You have to get something that comply with California requirement. And there are certain things we have to look at it. Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I think the manufacturers will build the units for wherever they're going to be placed. So, if that means lower flow fixtures for California, I think that's something that is accommodated.
Also, in your selection, in your study, have you considered the material they use? Do they use more like plastic instead of wood? That because of the environmental factors.
For some of the types that we've talked about, like the flat packed cabins, those do use a lot of plastic. For those are, kind of more for interim housing. For some of the manufacturers that build permanent modular units, it's basically the materials that you find in a typical house, any site built house today. There are some companies. There's a company called Cover, which is sort of kind of at the leading edge of these, more higher end manufactured units, that they'll use kind of modern materials. So steel, glass, and some plastic, to create the panels that will fit together, to form the building. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variation in the industry for sure.
Well, if possible, if able to disclose it, the percentage of material used of plastic or material percentage used of wood or steel, that would be helpful. All right. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Chang, because I'm going to jump right off from there and ask a very similar question with respect to those building materials. How long do we think those buildings will last? For example, in San Jose, the staff modulars, American Canyon senior homes, senior homes. Oh, there's apartments in Valley Senior Apartments in American Canyon. Right, like how long do we think? 20 years, 50, 10? Is it temporary, permanent?
The trainings that I've gone to haven't indicated that they'll last less than traditional stick-built housing, but I'd have to get back to you about the exact number. So-
It's a lead-in question because I'm just wondering with respect to I mean, these homes really do look amazing. They do. I'm not sure, but I think Elon Musk's Boxable would fit into this category,
Okay.
right? And I'm very excited about this, but my question then would become, why should we continue building traditional homes when we have a much less expensive but equally adequate housing available on the market that can stack, can grow, can get bigger, can get smaller?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? That as these technologies become cheaper, faster, more economical, then they become more viable for more people, right? In terms of different income levels. And so probably will take a few more generations of this stuff to make it there, but that's a legitimate question. So,
That leads me to my next question then, with respect to buying plots of land to put those homes on once we get to that scale that you're mentioning of a couple generations from now. Does Marina have single home plots for sale where somebody could get one of these 350K modular homes and plop it? They buy the plot of land for however much just the blank.
yeah, I mean, current California housing law is if you have a modular unit, you're not supposed to treat it different than a stick built as long as it can meet the setbacks and the height and all the city's standards. So theoretically, somebody could, there's a vacant lot in town now and file for a building permit, and we're required by law to look at it the same way. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I would say when I entered planning 20 years ago, that those options were a little bit more expensive. And I think what Bryce is trying to articulate is the cost is coming down so we can get more housing online. So your question is a very good question because, yeah, somebody could do that now.
Yeah, I thought that, Glenn's proposal about using all the city lots that are sitting out there empty, that aren't being used, they don't serve a purpose because they don't hold water. There's never been any. He talked about filling those up. This would be the perfect thing to just drop on. And I think the other thing with these units becoming very popular is probably resistance on the part of the trades unions. Less carpenters, less electricians, less plumbers, so there's probably just going to be some friction as time goes on
I hear
about
you.
that.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that because another part of that, then my line of questions is with respect to property values and the surrounding neighborhood, the people who bought the $1.3 million home, but are now just down the street from Elon Musk's $25,000 boxable.
Well, so to answer your question, it still has to meet the city's zoning and objective standards, right? You couldn't just plop a mountain of steel somewhere,
Okay.
and paint it and call it right.
So
There's
the 350K home is now two houses down from my home that I bought 10 years before, and I'm still paying on what happens to me.
It's actually $1,350,000
oh Lord.
because the value of the land doesn't change. So, and that's the biggest value here in California is the land, because that's the one thing we can't create.
So they keep their value.
Sure. So they get their 350 house. It sits on $1 million lot, and whatever the contract on the home is, they can sell it at some point, but they can't sell it for $1.3 million. They can sell it for 700,000 or whatever it is. Those are usually written into the contracts for lower income housing, correct? Guido?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Nice. I think that's my last follow-up question.
Of course,
Thank you.
of course, just another fact is that most of the $1 million homes being built now are in pre-designated subdivisions that aren't selling empty lots,
Right.
and they're not leaving, to my knowledge, any empty lots for the future. They are building out, like Sea Haven has a 1,080 units. And when they finish that in however many decades are left, they will not walk away with any empty lots.
Yes, sir.
And probably the same in the dunes.
Right.
And
I think
probably-
they're all, I think the, contract, not the contractor, the developers have
Yeah.
that's theirs. I'm talking about like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
inside of Marina, when you drive around, a lot of these houses are hidden at that 4 million mark.
You know, I actually have a modular home that was placed in my cul-de-sac.
Nice.
And it came in, and it was placed on, not a slab, but a foundation.
Okay.
And then after it was placed, they built a garage onto it.
Huh.
This was probably 12 to 15 years ago. And you can't tell.
Nice.
You can't tell.
And nobody minds. Nobody's
Nobody
fussing
said,
about property
nobody
value.
said a word about
I
it.
love it so
No.
much. That's Marina, guys. That's Marina. Very good.
Bring it on.
Yes,
Yeah.
we want this.
I would also
Lit.
point out that we're very blessed on this commission. We have people from all different parts of the world. So if there are ideas from other states or other countries in terms of how to build homes quickly, faster, more efficiently, please today or after the meeting, please share that with staff. We want to make this a collaborative process with the commission, and other countries do multifamily housing way better than the US does. So
Vice Chair, the worry about the trade unions.
Mhm.
There's several different ways to solve that problem and assuage that concern. And one of them, which Marina could encourage, is to open up a factory right here. Okay?
Here, here,
I mean, they're building little airplanes
Mhm.
just down the road.
here, here.
Okay. And so, even if it was these modular builders could certainly have modular factories.
Mhm.
Okay?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
When they,
exactly.
and a modular factory in Marina could probably serve a 300 or 400 mile circle radius.
Mhm. Easy.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner St. John, because when we had the joint meeting with the council about Cypress Knolls, that's Council Member McCarthy actually brought that up, that if we develop Cypress Knolls and we're trying to also create jobs, we could be an innovator in that way, that we could build missing middle housing, but also use it as a tool of economic development by partnering with local companies to build the modular units here in the Central Coast.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And especially if Marina, gave some considerations for the manufacturer, then when and if he ever finished, and I've not seen a lot of building finished in my lifetime, but anyway, especially here in Marina.
And that would take care of that transportation cost we were talking about.
Right. But anyway, there
It
could
would.
be consideration that after the factory has outlived its useful life for this, whatever the radial area is, that it would revert back to the city and we could have another round two of whatever we,
Exactly.
the brain trust. of
I like
the
what you're
city.
thinking.
Mhm.
So,
And then that manufacturer goes to the next city they need to build. Yeah, I like it too. I think we're solving, United States big problems, actually.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Guido and Bryce.
Yeah,
We-
so we heard loud and clear. We got some good input, like I said, but if there's other stuff from different parts of the world or just things that you guys hear about that you want to share with us, we will definitely bring this back probably mid to late in the fall. I need to do a little bit more outreach to the faith-based community here. I haven't gotten too many bites. So if people have contacts within the faith-based community, I am still trying to work with Bryce on that overlay. So we'll bring both of those back to the commission probably mid to late fall. And then along the same housing lines, I did send to the commission. I am partnering with the VTC to have a big Veterans Day event. Originally, we were partnering to make it more like a Veterans Day kind of party, but I pushed them and they agreed we're going to have more services for veterans, connecting them to different housing opportunities, other wraparound, employment, home loan, different type of dental referrals from that event. So if you know of some veterans groups or persons that you think I should invite to the meeting, to the event, it's going to be on Veterans Day at the VTC Center. And on top of that, we do have Kamiko and Bryce on the line. Rincon helped us. We submitted our pro housing designation to the state on August. That was our second time submitting. We submitted the first time and state said we didn't quite make the mark, and we worked with Rincon and they kind of helped us beef up the application. So hopefully we'll get the pro housing designation from the state. And with that, we're eligible for more grant and state funding. So yeah, so thank you to Rincon and the city. And so that's all things housing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you again, Bryce. That was perfect. I think you can see how excited we are for these solutions that you put in front of us. And so
Absolutely.
we are
Thank you.
you're welcome. We're at the staff and major projects updates. We heard about a little bit of housing, the housing element. Is there-
Yeah, so housing stuff we've talked about. Within the dunes, the promenade is going like gangbusters. There was a big car week event at the Brass Tap. There were about 75 cars out there. Marina Station, they're still moving quite a bit of dirt. Within Sea Haven, we're more than halfway done with Sea Haven. And yeah, so a lot going on,
Guido, you probably are aware of this, but we had a Sea Haven HOA board meeting a day or so ago, this week. And it was announced at that meeting, it came up as a discussion item. And it comes up every meeting.
Yeah, I know.
The city park. It's about a 17-acre plot of land bounded by Imgen and Marina Heights and a couple other streets. Anyway, that city park, it was announced that the city of Marina has taken over the obligation of that park, or the development of the park.
Funny you should mention that. So at the next meeting, we are going to be bringing to the commission amending the development agreement we have with the Sea Haven folks so we can take ownership of that project, fast track it and get it done faster.
Right.
And you actually reminded me, Commissioner St. John, you actually live in Sea Haven?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I'll need to verify that you can or cannot vote on that item because depending on how close you are to the park. So thank you for, yeah. So,
From here to my car.
oh, is it? Okay, well then, yeah, well, I'll have to double check with the attorneys, but if you're that close, probably have to recuse yourself, so.
Okay.
But for the rest of the commission, we are going to bring that back. We are going to be taking that over, getting the funds from the developer, but we have to make an amendment to the Sea Haven Development Agreement. That'll be the only item on the agenda in 2 weeks, so we definitely want you guys there. It'll probably be a 30-minute meeting at the most. So. That would be September 11th. Okay, so we'll 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What I was gonna ask, if you could, if you wouldn't mind, please telling us what the rules are for recusing yourself, because I did it wrong last time and I want to make sure.
If you're within 500 to 1,000 feet and the attorney's on the phone, he could probably answer it better. But
And then-
generally, if you're within 500 feet, you should recuse yourself, so. Go outside. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 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 So Sea Haven and what else? Working on a lot of ordinance modifications, bringing a shopping cart ordinance to the city council probably in a couple months. We do have some shopping carts around town that we're trying to clean up. And yeah, just we're very, very busy. Oh, Sep, our attorney wanted to comment. There we go. Go ahead, Sep.
Hi, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a video option evidently, but yeah, I think the short answer on potential recusals is just let Guido or Allison know if you have a specific concern, and they'll get in touch with me or Renee. Typically me for the planning commission if it seems appropriate. And I think Guido, I think you all have what we call conflict maps typically which
We
show
do.
yeah, when commissioners live within a certain radius. The 500 and 1,000 foot thing is a little more complicated. Not surprisingly, it's like if you're within 500, it's presumed, and if it's within 1,000, you have to go through a couple more steps. But it's very fact dependent. Is the upshot here? So just get in touch and we can figure it out. Thanks.
Thank you. Seth?
And that's it for staff announcements.
Any
No,
correspondence?
no.
All right, then we're at adjournment.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.